What's up, y'all? TB from S&B coming at you on a joyous Memorial Day. Um, just got some news. We got a little bit of news from the Fed today. For whatever reason, this dude Christopher Waller, the Fed governor, uh, gave a little interview today, and it kind of just got me into the mood to do a little research on where I think they will have to go with the ultimately where they'll have to raise rates to combat inflation. So today he came out and said he's prepared to take rates past neutral to fight inflation. Now the neutral rate, for whatever reason, is typically 2.75%. Right now we're at the 1% or like 1.06%. The Fed rate is at this very moment. And so far, the market has priced in for sure that they're going to do 50 basis points in 50 basis points in what was the day? So they're definitely going to do 50 basis points in June, the June meeting, which is 14th to the 15th, and then for sure going to do the same in the July meeting. So that will take us to the 2% interest rate. And so basically he was saying that if by then we don't see meaningful inflation decreases across the board, then they will potentially go more aggressive. So to get to the 2.75% would mean that they could take the leap in September. So they don't have a meeting in August, but they could take a leap in September up to a 75 basis point hike, which I think would almost certainly be a rug pull because at this point the market already reacted terribly to just 50 basis points hikes. But and then God forbid if it's so bad that they have to do a full basis point, that would absolutely rug pull the economy. That's why I'm convinced that over the summer we'll rally, probably mostly rally with whatever dips in between. But ultimately, I think the main crash will come in the fall with that September meeting. But so yeah, that's basically what he said was that yeah, their main goal is kill inflation, and it shows no signs of slowing. We had a 0.1% decrease this last CPI report, so that isn't meaningful whatsoever. The Fed it tries to get it to 2%, so that's not gonna do it. They need to really kill that shit. They gotta kill that inflation. If it's not coming down, then they're gonna have to get mega aggressive. So the next three CPI reports are huge, very critical. If we don't see any slowing in these next three, because the next three are so big because they already have said, I mean, they can change their mind, which that could also be a rug pull. If they do say, say the May CPI report, which is released on June 10th, say that is worse, say inflation has gone up, we're up at like 9%, then they could potentially come out and say, all right, we're not doing 50 basis points, we're going to do 75 basis points for the June meeting. That would be brutal because that CPI data comes out right before the June meeting, and that's why they release them. They always release them like right before these meetings. So if that were to happen, that would be a rug pull because the market has already priced in the 250 basis points hikes, which is still very aggressive. That's why we got that big crash. But God forbid they come out and say, actually, we're going to be more aggressive. That would be very, very bad. It would not be good. So these next three CPI reports are huge. So we have the CPI data for May coming out on June 10th, the CPI data for June coming out July 13th, and the July data will be reported, the June data will be reported. What the hell am I saying? Oh, no, sorry. So May data comes out June 10th. Wait a second. No, we're in May. Yeah, June data. And then the June data will come out July 13th. July data comes out August 10th. August data comes out September 13th. Sorry, I'm having a little brain fart, going a little R-worded. So those are going to be huge. Those, I mean, they're literally going to be the roadmap for the Fed. If they're bad, then the Fed will come out and almost certainly say, we're going to do 75 basis points in September, and they might do 75 basis points for the next three meetings. So they meet in September the 20th, November 1st, and then December 13th. We have a break in October, and then also a meaningful break, which is August. They don't get together at all in August. So in between June 14th or yeah, in between June 15th to July 26th. We won't hear from the Fed for the most part. So that's why I'm convinced if the market knows that they're going to do those 50 basis points hikes and then there's like a break in between, it's making a nice situation for our bear market rally, which we all know is coming. Um, so I guess my opinion on the thing, I mean, what causes inflation? Rising prices. What causes rising prices? Oh, oil. When it keeps going up and up and up, everything keeps getting more expensive. When demand doesn't go down, things get more expensive. When supply goes down, things get more expensive. These are all things that are happening right now. The Fed can only control the demand. So if they don't see any demand coming down, which is their only way of fighting inflation, if they don't see that, then they're just going to have to get really aggressive. So that's 75 basis points in September. If they came out and said, all right, September, November, December, they're all going to be 75 basis points, which would bring us from 2.75 to 3.5 to 4.25%. That would be hardcore. That would be past the neutral rate because, I mean, at this point, it's pretty obvious that the 2.75% is not going to be strong enough to fight inflation. And that's the nature of inflation. It's a cumulative thing. It's not just like a constant rate. It's not like if from now till July inflation goes from 8% to 6%, that inflation went down, that the prices of everything went down. No, it's just like the rate at which the prices were going up have slowed down. So they know the longer it goes on, the worse and worse it gets. And the odds that things go up in price and ever come back down are like non-existent. Like that doesn't happen these days. Once the price of shit goes up, it typically keeps going up. So they know that this is just a snowball effect, and it's thought throughout mainstream economists that, or throughout whatever mainstream economists, it's a common belief amongst them that Fed rate hikes don't actually affect the economy, like actually start affecting businesses for at least 6 months after they happen. So we got our first rate hike in March, we got our second rate hike in April. No, May. So we're at that 1% right now. And it hasn't been 6 months, so that's not going to affect the market for a while. So inflation's probably going to keep going up. Not good. Not good at all. So with that in mind, they just will have to be hyper aggressive because they're already so far behind the curve. Like it's crazy how far behind they are. And it's generally thought that the Fed, what their rate is, it needs to be next to inflation. So if inflation's at 2%, the Fed rate needs to be at 2%. If inflation's at 8% and the Fed rate is at 1%, they got a lot of catching up to do. And that's where we are right now. So it's hard to see inflation slowing down when the gas price keeps going up and up and up. Everything is transported on diesel, is burnt. Diesel burns when things are transported. So when the price of diesel keeps going up, like it's just not gonna. There's never inflation can't slow down. It's a real issue. The only way it can slow down is if they full on rug pull the economy, which they would. It would be a rug pull if they went a 1% hike in September. That's like worst case scenario. That would be like insane. Like Paul Volcker, he was the guy back in the 70s and 80s who was the Fed chair, and he basically caused a recession by jacking up interest rates. It was like 17% or some shit back then. That straight up rug pulled the economy. So it's unfortunate. This is where we are in the market. It's 100% about what the Fed does, which sucks. Because you would think, hey, Microsoft's a good company, I could just buy Microsoft, but it's like the price of everything is controlled by the Fed. It sucks, and that's just where we are now. And until inflation stops and we stop hearing about the Fed, that's the only time things will go back up. So they need to see a meaningful drop. The only positive thing right now is that unemployment is still low. Most recessions have unemployment rising, so it's still low, but the problem there is that they will have to raise unemployment, not purposefully, but in order to kill demand, they will have to raise rates. In order to kill inflation, they got to kill demand, which they have to raise rates. So right now, since demand is so high, there are so many jobs that exist because of that high demand, but you can't keep demand high and keep jobs around without killing and just leave inflation. You know, you gotta kill one to reduce the other. So, uh, in order to stop inflation, they got to kill demand, and killing demand means less consumer spending. Less consumer spending means less profits. Less profits means they got to start making cuts. And when they have workers that they hired because demand was so high, and now demand comes down, and now that business makes less money, and now these workers demand more money because of inflation, what are they going to do? They're not just going to pay workers more and take less profits. That's not what businesses do. This is capitalism. They're not like, oh yeah, we'll take we'll take the loss on you. We'll keep paying you at a loss. That's not what happens. So they're gonna have to. Workers will eventually be getting laid off soon enough because it just has to happen. The economy when demand gets so high and things get so crazy, all these businesses adapt to it by hiring a bunch of people, and then when anything changes, it's immediate panic. It's like, oh shit, our profits are getting eaten. We gotta start firing people. That's just how it is. It's always been like that. History repeats itself, and that's just gonna happen. And we're already seeing it in Silicon Valley. Tech companies are already slowing down hiring massively because guess what? They don't make any money. Netflix, they hardly, I mean, they make some money, but I'm saying like their profits are going down, so they've just been hiring like crazy. And then companies like Upstart and like these SoFi kind of companies that already don't really make much money, they're really going to have to start cutting back because they can't get any more free money from the Fed anymore because rates are going up, which will hurt their profits. So it's just like it's such a big web, a big stew. It's like once you make a stew, try unmaking the stew. Try taking the ingredients out without making a huge mess. It's impossible. Once you stir everything up, it's in there, and this is where we're at. And taking ingredients back out is just a messy process. You're not going to be able to do it. It's just going to be a shit show. And unfortunately, that's just it's gotta happen, man. I mean, inflation just can't keep going up at this rate. It's gonna kill the dollar, and that's all the Fed cares about. I mean, it sucks. Uh, yeah, it's brutal. And then that's part of the issue too, is when they keep workers around and those workers keep demanding more money, then they're getting more money, so they have more money to spend, and the consumer, it's not a good thing, and that's why you see the dumping in tech because where do people stop spending money when money gets tight? And luxury goods. What kind of luxury goods do people spend the most money on? Tech. Um, or like businesses will quit spending so much money on advertising. So that's why you see Snapchat dropping 40% in one day. That's why Facebook is down like however much this year. That's why Google is down however much. Um, so yeah, it's not looking great. I mean, I don't know. I think the market's just so forward thinking that the market really does know that they're gonna have to really put a freaking noose around the market and hang it for a couple months to kill inflation. Um, but in the meantime, they're going to play games. They're going to do whatever causes retail the maximum pain. Retail has not capitulated yet. Retail is still buying shit up like crazy. They're still buying the dip in stocks. And the bottom only happens when retail panic sells, and that hasn't happened yet. So until that happens, I will assume we keep going down. So short term, I want to look at short term. Short term, let's look at some stonks. So here we go. We got the Nasdaq. We got a nice bump, real nice bump actually. So now we're right here. Let's look at IXP. What the hell is it? Nasdaq 100. Oh, NDX. So right now we're at this key fib level. If you draw a fib all the way up here from 16,600 on the Nasdaq all the way down to 11,400, we're at this. Let's activate this and actually get it right. 229. So we're right here. We're about to tap this key fib level, and right now we're overbought is like crazy overbought right now on the Nasdaq. We've gone up too much too fast. So I expect right now futures are up. So I expect tomorrow we'll open at this level or around it, maybe gap up back above it. But I know we're gonna pull back at least a little bit. I would guess that no gap to the downside will go unfilled. We will not go up until we fill all the gaps to the downside. So right now we got a big old gap. Unfortunately, I hate gaps to the downside. I hate them. We got a big old gap below us on the Nasdaq that will most likely have to be filled before we continue up. Gap is Jesus all the way down to 12,200. So that's a big old gap. If that gets filled on Tuesday, if we get a blood red day, we could still keep going up. I think June is going to be a green ass month. I am very positive on June. So if we fill that gap, we got to come up here, test 12,700, and break through that key fib level. If we do, then I mean, we got open range. We got a gap to fill above that. We could come up here. I think we come up and retest 14,000 on the NASDAQ, which would actually be about 337 on the Qs. I mean, shit, maybe even come up here to 357. That would still be a lower low if we were to get to that point. But there is a gap to fill to the upside. If we get up there, we can fill that gap to the upside. So I mean, price target for June on the Nasdaq is 360. That's a lot. I mean, that's like a 18% rally there on the Nasdaq. It could do some crazy shit. These bear market rallies can go long and hard, and everyone just forgets that. Oh shoot, inflation's ruining our economy. So that's price target market 360 by the end of June for the Nasdaq. For SPX, same thing. We have a let's zoom out a little more. Come on, baby. So same thing on SPX. We are right at a fib level. Let's see if I can actually get it up here. Maybe. So we're at this fib level. We broke this key one, so I say if we are red tomorrow, we come down, retest 4,047 on SPX, and then go up from there. Something you'll notice is that we have crossed over this 50 moving average on the 4-hour, which if you see back here, it was basically resistance for quite some time. We came up and tapped it there, we broke it, then that was a fake out. We tapped it here, and then the last time we convincingly broke through it was a big ol' rally in March. So we have broken that, so things are looking like we're ready for another rally. I still have puts to hedge myself, but I think we rally in June. I think things go up in June, and I'm going to try to make as much money as I possibly can before they dump again. And that's the plan. So, yeah, that's my little market update, my uh, doom and gloom speech. But yeah, that's where we're at with the Fed. I mean, it's all about the Fed. It sucks because for 2 years the stock market, no one cared about the Fed. Like when they dropped rates to zero and started printing money and dumping it into the market, no one cared about it, and they would just come out every every meeting and be like, "Yep, transitory inflation. Rates are gonna stay the same." But now when they talk about bumping up rates, it always causes pain in the market. So just watch out. If we get any news, and that's the scary part about going long, is that overnight there could be an article that comes out that Powell had this interview and said we will look at 75 basis point hike in July, and that would be a rug pull. That would be an absolute rug pull. So that's why it's so scary holding things to the upside. When the just any terrible news can come out and just absolutely rug pull the entire market. So that's my fruit for thought. But yeah, we're looking for a good week this week. I'm excited. We'll come back tomorrow. Peace, guys.